Hi, I'm going to show you how you can balance the chakras using the solar harmonic set. We're going to assume, just for the sake of this example, that we have gone through the assessment and we have determined that all 7 of the chakras have an excess of energy. So when faced with this question, we have to ask ourselves, number 1, how do we get rid of the excess energy? Well, as you remember, we have 2 types of sound intervals, 2 forks played next to each other. We have the dissonant, which sounds a little bit grating to our ears, and we have the consonant, which sounds pleasing to our ears. So the first thing we need to do when we find an excessive chakra is to rid it of the excess. In other words, break it up or tease it out if it was hair, using dissonant intervals. So what are those dissonant intervals? It's any interval of a second or any interval of a seventh. So for the sake of this example, I'm going to use C and D. C and D are a second apart. And then I'm going to do a second round and use B. So first let me show you what I'm going to do in the technique to use the C and the D. I'm going to activate them on the activator. I'm going to go to the root chakra, take the energy out, fling it into source. I flung it up, but you couldn't see it. Activate again. This time flinging the energy down to be transmuted. And then you could do this. Any intuitive motions, just like that. So to make sure that I get all of the energy, I use a C and a B, which is like going through with it with a kind of a fine-tooth comb. It's a little more dissonant than the C and the D. So again, activating. And you could also have salt butter right here. Again, helping with the transmutation of the energy. Don't think of it as negative energy, just energy that body doesn't need anymore. So then what we're going to do is fortify the chakra. Now we're going to use the system, and there's many systems out there. We're going to use the system where the root is C, D, E, F, G, A, and B for the crown. So I'm going to take consonant intervals, which, remember, are the 4th, 5th, and the 5th is the most consonant. I'm going to take the 5th, and the 6th is also the last consonants. The 3rd is a special case, and I'll talk about that in a different video. But I'm going to take the C and the G. Those are 5 notes apart. C, D, E, F, G. So what I'm going to do is activate each, take it from source and bring it into the chakra. I usually like to operate in 3s and just nice and even on the last one while it's still vibrating, and you'll be able to intuit this. You just kind of slowly bring it into that chakra. Alright, so now we have balanced the root chakra. We move on to the sacral. The sacral can also be broken up, disentangled, if you will, with dissonant intervals. So again, I'm going to take the same C and D, which are dissonant intervals, and bring that up, and then transmute that down. I won't do it 3 times for the sake of brevity, but I'll also do the same thing with the C and the B. Now, to be sure, you could also take a D and an E together. That's a second apart. And you could do the same thing. Now, If we go with our model, then this is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, we come to this, it's a D. So we want to play a consonant interval, which again, I told you was a fifth, the most consonant interval. So that is what we're going to fortify this with. So we have to think D, E, F, G, and A. D and A. So I'll get my D, and I'll get my A. Activate. And then bring it in. Activate. Bring in the healthy energy. Again, I do it 3 times. You can do however you feel intuitive to. So I won't waste your time and show you that you can use the CD, CB here, CD, CB here, CDB, 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 if you are getting rid of the excess energy in here. So we come to fortify. Say we've already taken the energy out of the solar plexus. If we use our model, that's going to be E, C, D, E. I'll take E, F, G, A, B. So E and B. And then bring it in. And do this, or whatever you intuit. So assuming that we have already done the clearing, we get ready for the heart chakra, we come to F, we go 5 above F, F, G, A, B, and C. So I'm going to take the F and then the higher C. We just will take the lower C. And I'm going to bring those into the heart chakra. I would do it more than just once, as I've demonstrated. So we come to the third chakra, which is G. I'm going to take the G. There is not a D above that. Remember, you would have G, A, B, C, and D, G and D. In the solar harmonic set, there's not a high D, so I'm going to take the D below that. But it's a fourth. It makes a fourth. So that is still a consonant interval. So you can still be assured that when you're doing the fortifying and the strengthening, that you are still bringing good energy, healthy energy, aligning energy into the throat chakra. Now we come to the third eye. If we use our model, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, A, and E. So I'll get my A. There's no E above that, so I'll get the E that is below, which again is going to be a fourth. Yeah. And then bring that in, bring the fortifying energy in. It's really helpful for their nervous system, for all the systems in their body. The next one's going to be a little bit tricky, but not too bad. So we come all the way up here, we get to the B. Now, if you go B, C, D, E, F, the B and the F are unique in the scale because they don't form a perfect fit. There's a whole explanation why, and I don't want to get into it now because it's a long explanation. So because it's not a perfect fifth, it's not consonant. So what is the next consonant interval? It would be that of a fourth. So if we go to B, B, C, D, E. So we're going to use a B and an E to fortify, to strengthen this chakra. I'll give it B and E. this. Activate. Because it's the crown, I like to go a little bit above. Remember, you're pulling the source energy down, imagining, visualizing. Your intent is so important in this. It's just as important, I would say almost of equal importance, that your intent is to fortify and strengthen as the notes that you actually choose. One little final touch that you can do is you can take what are called the body tuners, if you've ever seen those listed on tuning fork websites, body tuners, nothing more than the C and the G. So I'll activate those and just kind of smooth the right side of the body, down the center point of the body, and over this part of the body. Creating a nice flow of all the chakras. Did not mean to do that. So that's basically how you use the solar harmonic set to strengthen, fortify, and create a really good flow within the chakras. Again, I exampled as if all of them were excessive. If they were not found to be excessive and were deficient, you can just go straight to the forward line. All right, see you later.